This episode is proudly supported by Pepe Sayer Australian Cultured Butter.
At Pepe Sayer, we focus on quality. So if someone comes into your restaurant and they see you're using Pepe Sayer, they know immediately that that is a quality product you've got in front of you on the table. And that comes from a decade of just doing quality butter day after day.
For more information, go to pepesayer.com.au.
We go out on a bang and people will remember the cook shed as it was with me in it as the best place, and we really miss it. I didn't want to end it because I was over it, because I'm not. I still love it.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Last time we caught up with Marty Boetz, he dished up an incredible double episode account of his life in food, which all led to one of regional Australia's best culinary offerings. But after 2 years of uncertainty, Marty is calling it a day on the cook's shed in the Hawkesbury, New South Wales. Marty, how are you?
I am fantastic, thank you.
You've made the decision to let go of Cook's Shed. Tell us a bit about that.
Look, this year I started out feeling a little weary after 2 years of COVID, and also the flood of last year and just that sort of thing. And then we had the flood in February, which we had to cancel or postpone a wedding that we had booked in for that time, and also lost a huge birthday party that was prepaid and booked. And anyway, so I sort of started thinking, that niggling feeling came over me, and started thinking, I don't know if I can keep doing this. And anyway, so I got over that and thought, no, push on. And then everything started going quite well again, and for about a month or two. And then, of course, the Hawkesbury was flooded again by even a larger flood than we had the previous ones. And then that's sort of when I decided, okay, that was a sign. I just felt really isolated in those times of flood at the farm, even though I could get out. But I had no electricity, and I kept generators going because I had quite a bit of stock in my cool rooms, and also I needed power in my cottage, and the water is on the farm is actually pump driven. So just to have everything sort of running as normal, then having to fill up the diesel generator a few times a day and just stuff like that. And I don't know, I just didn't feel like I really wanted to be in that space. So I put the farm up for sale, and then during that campaign, it flooded again. And it was just like, is this like on my auction day? Because the farm was going to auction, no one could get to me, so it was postponed. Anyway, there was some interested parties, and yes, I am hopefully today going to exchange on the contracts. So hopefully today I can, or this evening, I can say I've sold my business and my farm.
You've built this most extraordinary offering and created an incredible life in the Hawkesbury. Tell us about the impact it's had on you in making that decision. Was it a tough decision?
So tough, and I have to say, when I shook it was a bit strange how it all happened last week. The buyer came by the farm unexpectedly and wanted to have a chat to me. Anyway, I won't go into the details, but we were chatting, and then I told him the price that I wanted, and he went around the farm for an hour and came back and said, okay, well, let's just do this deal, because he's a pretty straight shooter, which I admire. He's not a bully, but just one of those people that just want to know, and an Aussie bloke. And I just thought, you know what, I just had to do it because I thought, he's a local Hawkesbury person, and I just thought, you know what, Marty, just shake his hand. So I did, and he then left, and I went back to chopping echallots. Of course, I'm always chopping an echalot, and I just broke down. Seriously, I just thought, oh my God, all these things just came flashing through my head, and all of the things that I'd done and all the things that I dreamt of doing, which, the majority of them have come true. And I've, again, having been supported through those 2 years through doing food boxes and takeaway and all of that sort of thing, by the locals of the Hawkesbury really embraced the cook shed, and I will never ever forget that. And I'm really thankful to the community that surrounds me, because basically I'm sort of in the middle of nowhere, but there's not really a town in Sackville, but there's definitely me, and people came and they bought, and I survived those 2 years, and we survived flooding and also building up towards being an event space. It wasn't really in my plan right at the beginning. The beginning plan was having market gardens and subdividing the garden into plots where chefs could come and actually do some gardening for themselves and grow things for their restaurants. And anyway, that I soon sort of thought that was not going to be a great idea, because everyone's going to be wanting to grow different things, and I didn't want to be responsible. And there was actually a flood back right in 2013 when I first started there. It wasn't major, but it did flood my plot down the bottom. Not all of it, but some of it. And that really sort of changed my mind on how I was going to do that. So I decided to just farm that area myself. And then sell to the chefs in the city. And that's sort of how I kept my name in amongst the chefs, because I was providoring to, 15 to 20 restaurants a week, once a week from the Hawkesbury.
As you discussed in detail, you turned it into an extraordinary event space, and you mentioned just earlier that things started to get better and you started putting events on and stuff. What was it like putting on big events after the turmoil and upheaval of the last 2 years and getting back in that sort of space? Oh,
it was really good, because I really enjoy it. Like, that's my comfort zone, and having lots of people there and having and the staff, my staff that stayed with me and were loyal, and also the other girls and boys that came back to help us to do the events, they all really enjoy being there with me and doing. I think the first large one we did was about 80, and then we did a wedding for 120. So I think the 120 was sort of the biggest we'd done for a long, long time. And that was a postponed wedding that it was like fourth time lucky. And I think 2 of the times was COVID and 2 of the times was flooding. So anyway, they'd been married. They'd already gotten married. They went and this couple were married in a registry office, or however they got married, just quiet ceremony. And then they just waited till they could have their big shindig at the shed. So it was really fun, and everyone had such a good time, and they were so grateful. I think her parents were Maltese farmers, and they could see the amount of work that we all did to create that space, to get it ready for their daughter, because it was really important to them, and they were very, very, very grateful. Actually, was just humbled by the thanks that they gave me. So that was really nice.
You built an amazing career in Sydney and made a real name for yourself, and had that huge change and went to the Hawkesbury and built the Cook's Shed. And you mentioned earlier that you achieved so many goals and ticked things off that you wanted to achieve during your time there. How much has it changed you and your connection with food and your approach as a chef?
Oh, Yeah, I think I was saying to somebody the other day, I just recreated what I did in the city in a tin shed in the country, but it was and my friend said that is a formula that you chose to follow because it worked for you the first time, and then you just recreated that. And I did recreate it, and it is communal, and a lot of people have met different people there through the Hawkesbury community that came to the shed on locals nights and things like that, and have become friends. So, and there is a great amount of different diverse people that live in and around the shed. So there was always funsters there. And yeah, so getting back to the question, it was the achievements were farming, and then realizing that I did want to do an event space, and then doing some events bare minimum. Like when I look at the pictures of what the shed looked like in 2014 when we first did a wedding there, I just think, oh my God, it's like it was literally an empty tin shed with tables and some drop lights, and we cooked out of paella pans and washed out of an old laundry sink, cement laundry sink with a hot water urn as our hot water to wash everything, and we washed everything by hand. And had this great bench made, so that was a feature. And yeah, it was just, and then getting, fast forwarding to now, where I've got a full commercial kitchen, beautiful bathrooms. We never had bathroom. We always had portaloos, and then later on we had these other fancy toilets. And but all of that was very costly to hire all the equipment constantly. So I did get some partners in to help me build the shed. I was very lucky that they let me do what I did. But we did finish building the new shed, or the new kitchen, on I think we spoke about this the last time, which was the 13th of March 2020. And so we did a wedding that day, and then a week later we were closed. There was lockdown, so we closed. So that was that was an eye opener.
You mentioned the loyalty of staff. Who's been sort of really integral to the success of your dream with the Cook's Shed?
Mainly, well, there's been a lot of people, but Madeline Crowell and her mum Wendy, they have been with me for about 6 years, and Madeline does all of the bookings and is host people when they arrive, and ticks their name off and organises lots of refunds, which we had to do over the last few years. So she was a bit of a refund queen, and also a bookkeeper, my bookkeeper, Kay Richardson, who I couldn't have lasted this long without her. Like, she really, drip feeded everyone, but just enough that I never was complained about. But very lucky to have people that surround me that do the work that I can't do. And I think that's a really big lesson for people. You cannot do everything yourself. You must surround yourself with people that help you, and you can really get on with, but they do that particular job that you can't do, which is, either managing people, managing the funds to keep you going, and also, gardeners, and you just stick to the thing that you're strongest at. And my strong point, obviously, is feeding people, being generous, and hosting when I can. So yeah, there's a big there's a big lesson for everyone in that. Really surround yourself with the right people, because otherwise you just get burnt out. And I just wanted to finish on that sentence with, I wanted to finish at the shed loving it, and I wanted to finish at the shed that all of the people that worked with me, or work with me still at the moment, we go out on a bang, and people will remember the Cook's Shed as it was with me in it, as the best place, and we really miss it. I didn't want to end it because I was over it, because I'm not. I still love it. I just know that maybe in 6 months in the future I wouldn't, and I certainly didn't want to portray that to my customers and to the people that love us so much.
You must be so consumed with the stories of the past and letting go of the cook shed and everything that you've created. But have you given thought to what's coming next?
I have got a plan, but I'm just not ready to I'm just not ready yet. I need to have a break. I'm going to go up and hang out with my mum in Brisbane for a while after this 6 weeks is over. Like, I need to do some packing and I'm going to drive up to Queensland and see my mum and then just reconnect with some friends up there and then I'll just make a decision after that.
Well, it's amazing what you've done, Marty, and incredible what the impact that you've had on so many people with what you have. How are you going to look back at your time at the Cook's Shed?
Of learning, of being able to make something out of nothing. When I think of, what was I thinking driving into a property with 2 big tin sheds and a clapped out little cottage and lantana growing everywhere? I don't know. I don't understand. If I could go back and sort of ask that person, I'd really like to know what that person's vision was. Obviously you saw something. Well, I did see it. I was there, but I saw something. It wasn't, but the events weren't there at that time. It was more focused on the land, the floodplain and farming that floodplain. The tin sheds weren't really, I just didn't know what I was going to do with those. But obviously they've been an integral part of the place. I'd just really like to have, but one person or a few people, Alex Herbert, Victoria Alexander, for example, and David Thompson, who were the first 2 people that I took up there with me to show them what I'd bought. I remember clambering through, rustling through with David and Victoria, but Victoria was the one. She said, "This needs to be a event space. This is what you should do to one of the smaller shed." She said it'd be great for events, and I'd never even thought about it. Like, never. That had not crossed my mind. So yeah, that was a funny day actually, because that really planted the seed in my head. And we didn't really do an event there until the first wedding, which we did for friends of mine that said, "I want to have our wedding in that shed," and I went, "Really?" I said, "There's a lot of work to do in that shed." But we actually I pulled it off, and I think it was about 140 people, and they were both Asian, and so I know that I cooked suckling pig from Malanda Park, and I was so terrified that it wasn't going to work because I was cooking it in this stainless steel oven thing that I'd hired. And and it was the most beautiful, ended up being most beautiful translucent skin. And I was just like, I really thanked whoever was looking after me for that, because I hadn't cooked in one of those before. They're like a large stainless steel Weber that you put the lid down, and then I just put it on high and hope for the best. Anyway, it worked.
Well, Marty, as ever, it's an absolute honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds to catch up. Good luck with whatever comes next. I'm sure it'll be incredibly successful.
Oh, well, I'm sure I'll let everyone know when that time comes. But again, thank you to everyone, and I hope that making something from nothing inspires a few young people out there, because it's really important. Surround yourself with people that love you and want to support you and move you forward. Don't get dragged back by anyone.
Thanks, Marty. Look forward to catching up again soon.
Okay, mate. Bye.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.